I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is Later That Same Life, my weekly podcast. This episode marks the end of Season 2. To catch up on all previous episodes, visit my YouTube channel or find Later That Same Life wherever you get your podcasts.
Season 2, Chapter 13, the Non Sequitur episode.
I've never really cared for Nanaimo bars, which is odd because I love all of the ingredients in a Nanaimo bar, but all together, there's just something that's off. Nanaimo bars may have originally been known as chocolate fridge cake. That doesn't help anything, just thought I'd mention it. Before you could just Google everything, there were two competing series of books. The Idiot's Guide to blank and blank for Dummies. The For Dummies series became much more successful. Is that because people said, hey, I don't mind admitting that I'm a dummy, but I ain't no idiot? Of Clorox, Xerox, Botox, Red Sox, White Sox, Javex, Durex, Timex, Kleenex, Gore-Tex, FedEx, Tex-Mex, Corn Chex, Rice Chex, Wheat Chex, Solar Flex, X-Lax, Netflix, Weetabix, Kix, FX, BMX, Cinemax, Lottomax, and Electrolux, I find Durex to be the best at preventing unwanted pregnancy and the spread of sexually transmitted diseases, with X-Lax being a close second. Recently, because of pandemic protocol, my doctor's appointment had to start out as a phone consultation. Nothing serious, but to make it a more authentic experience, for 45 minutes before the call, I sat at home in an uncomfortable chair, flipping through a 3-year-old magazine. At the back of the magazine was a really cool pasta recipe, so when no one was looking, I ripped it out and snuck it into my kitchen. Knowing that I love knickknacks and kitsch, a friend of mine recently asked if I wanted an old desk-style black rotary phone. She had found it when she was helping her parents clean out their basement. Heck yeah! When she brought it over, it still had a phone jack cord attached, so I plugged it in, made her go into the other room, then I rotary dialed her cell phone. She picked up. We talked for like 20 seconds. I hung up and then walked into the room that she was in. I kind of felt like Marty McFly and Doc at the same time. I love those fabric softener beads. You know, the ones you throw right into the wash? Like, I love them. Many of my friends do not. But I accept that. It's not a friendship deal breaker. You know, like a TV show or a good movie. You know that feeling when you wear a hat or a cap all day and then you take it off, but it still feels like you're wearing a hat or a cap? I looked it up. It's got to do with pressure on your capillaries and blood flow. To a certain extent, hair, if you have it. There's no name for the syndrome, but I feel like the doctor who discovered it didn't want to lend his or her name to it. You know, the Henderson hat cap syndrome. Hey, Dr. Henderson, thanks for taking our Zoom meeting. I've got Dr. Alzheimer and Dr. Tourette's, Dr. Parkinson, Dr. Guion, Dr. Barr. Everyone's here, so what's the importance of your syndrome again? What's that? You want your name taken off of it? Okay, I understand. I mean, really, unless you identify something major, you wouldn't really want your name on it. All the other important doctors would just make fun of you all the time. You'd get the cheapest room at the medical conferences. No one would come to your seminars. Well, who needs it? You know when people say knock on wood, either as a superstition or just a joke, and then they knock on their own head? You realize that you are telling people that your head is made of wood? Wait, Of course you realize that. Yes, that's the joke. Of course, I get it now. Okay. Have you ever been on Facebook and have somebody ask a question that they could have just as easily Googled? What are they thinking? What are they doing? Are they just starving for some human contact, even though it is once removed? What are you asking me for? Google it. You're already online. I've noticed in our society that we prefer to find a villain to blame for our ills, rather than blaming a system or ourselves, for that matter. To that end, I found out there actually was a Reese, although he did not invent Reese's Pieces. Harry Burnett Reese owned the H.B. Reese Candy Company. His best invention was the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. He died in 1956, and his company merged with Hershey in 1963. It was Hershey that tried to capitalize on the peanut butter cup success by introducing Reese's Pieces in 1978. 1980 in Canada. They remained in low sale anonymity until the movie E.T. in 1982. The UK didn't get Reese's Pieces until 1996. Now that's villainous. In 2009, H.B. Reese was posthumously inducted into the Candy Hall of Fame because he was dead. The worst brain farts are silent and deadly. Here's a little inside music radio stuff for folks who remember top 40 DJs. In a typical hour that wasn't your morning show, you had about 5 minutes of news and weather. That left 55 minutes. An hour could contain 12 minutes of commercials, so you're down to 43. 12 3.5-minute songs total 42 minutes. That leaves 1 minute for you, the DJ, to be your personable, fun-loving best. And by the way, in Canada, 30% of that song count total had to be Canadian content by some federal blurry definition. That's mostly why DJs talked over musical intros to your favorite songs. You had no other time. Otherwise, you only have that 1 minute to justify your entire existence. If a song had a 25-second music intro before the vocals, a good DJ could get in the station ID, their own name, the weather, a sports score, and a zippy one-liner. If you talk too much outside of that, the boss didn't like it, and your song count for the hour was down. No good. That is why you heard Heart's Dreamboat Annie so much. The song fades out at around 1:55, under 2 minutes. Its Canadian content adds to your song count, really helped the DJ do his job. Even when I hear the song today, I still think, oh, a DJ is trying to get the news on time. I mean, it's a good song, but hardly Heart's best work. It's like now when I hear a radio announcer say, coming up next, it's Queen. So you wait around, and it's not Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh man, that just pisses me off. Rob Reiner directed many of my favorite movies, including Stand By Me. When the movie was coming out in North America, Reiner was already in England shooting The Princess Bride. I always thought that the forest swamp scene in Stand By Me had an interesting parallel with the fire swamp scene in Princess Bride. I always wondered if Reiner was thinking of one while he was shooting the other. Remind me to ask him next time I see him. Whenever we chase coyotes, skunks, and raccoons away from our homes, there's always this group of people who says, they were here first. It was they who have been displaced. Yeah, I guess. I remember my folks bought our family home from an older retired couple, and afterward not once did we catch them going through our garbage in the middle of the night. When I did my podcast about Facebook, I said that it's ludicrous to blame one social site for all of the world's problems, that Facebook simply exacerbates the situation. I do still believe that for the most part, but the point I was trying to make, that I don't think I made very well and want to clarify here, that if you were in a position where you realized you were contributing to a bad situation, wouldn't you at least try and do something about that? I remember a lot of songs from my youth that really rocked. My parents hated them. Turn that down! They meant something to me. Part of the revolution. So today, when I hear these songs playing on the sound system at the grocery store, I always wonder, gee, what happened? Then there's Steppenwolf's Born to be Wild. They're using it right now for a Pampers commercial. Like many, I gained a few pounds during COVID isolation. The other day, as I passed a mirror in my front hall, I stopped and thought, wow, you've slimmed down a bit. Good for you. Until I realized it wasn't that I had lost weight. I had just become accustomed to my extended girth. So like most of society, I had come to normalize shoddy behavior. I've always loved what I call the camera story. For centuries, human visual history was captured by drawers and painters. Then, about 200 years ago, the first partially successful use of something called a camera. As cameras became more practical, artists were freed up to paint not what they saw, but what they felt. A new age of surrealism, a new wave of art happened because we had a device to take care of the other thing. In the 1970s, a futurist named Alvin Toffler wrote of high-tech versus high-touch. His theory, simplified, was that the more high-tech our society became, it would free up our time for high-touch. That is to say, to be more human to and with each other. Solid theory. But, still waiting. Moment or movement? Which one are we in? I guess it depends on the issue. People often say the plural of anecdote is not data. You know what the original quote was? The plural of anecdote is data. Talk about a misquote. I think anecdote is not data, but the plural definitely could be. By the way, I prefer data to data, but it seems like the accepted term is data, so I'm trying to switch over. Every time I have to say data, I really have to think about it, or else I'll say data. When I was a kid, a friend of my dad's always told us kids, never eat anything bigger than your head. I've never forgotten that. It was good advice then, and it's good advice now. Shouldn't the people who ask for empathy and understanding also be the most empathetic and understanding people in the world? They aren't always, are they? It bothers me. My reputation used to precede me. These days, it's not only far behind and running late, but it just called to say it missed its ride. By the way, if you follow me on Facebook, you've already seen that I posted that once, but I just felt it was worth repeating. I've had the same cell phone number for 31 years. I think that must be some kind of record. When they talk about cultural representation and diversity in media, they often use the phrase, you have to see it to be it. I agree with that, and I don't feel that media fairly represents society's ethnic makeup. However, doesn't it also say that we have become a little too dependent on visual media to sanction and verify our potential? You know, historically, a lot of society's true leaders changed things because they saw it first in their mind. They envisioned it. In other words, think it to be it. My home computing device does not have a webcam, so I bought one. When I am finished a teleconferencing call, I unplug the webcam from my device. I put the lens cap on it. Then I put the webcam on a corner of my desk facing the wall. I'm not paranoid. No, wait, I guess I am. It's the same reason I own a paper shredder. And I not only shred the personal papers, I burn the shreds, and then I shred the ashes, and then I distribute them into a series of plastic bags and drop them in 5 different trash cans as I walk around the neighborhood. Okay, that's not true, but the webcam thing is. I've been diagnosed with a mild form of attention deficit disorder. I have trouble focusing and concentrating on something when it's not very interesting. Lawyers and legal aids use legal pads. They are lined paper. This tells me they don't trust themselves to maintain a straight horizontal sentence on a piece of paper without some guidance. If I can't trust their horizontal perception aptitude, how can I trust their legal advice? Call me a snowflake if you will, but I actually like political correctness. I encourage it where possible. Currently, I'm trying to have banned all Kiss the Cook aprons because of their unwanted sexual suggestiveness. I know our health system is stretched thin, but I still think single people shouldn't be able to see a family doctor. I see these ads for dating sites for people over 50, and then at the end they always say, must be at least 18 to try. I know the legal and why they have to say that and all that, but geez, yeah, 18, I hope so. But how about this? Presenting a dating site for those over 50. You must be at least 50. In retail, especially in grocery, they talk about the importance of putting everything at eye level. They have a saying, eye level is buy level. It's all part of something they call visual merchandising. The average height of a North American woman is 5'4", man 5'9". The human eye won't scan much past 6 to 8 inches up or down without you having to move your entire head. And when grocery shopping, that's just too much trouble. The lesson is, never eat anything lower than 5 feet or higher than 7. It's just not worth it. To combat the loss of grocery carts, certain stores have carts embedded with a radio frequency chip that prevents the wheels from turning once they reach a certain distance away from the store, i.e. outside the boundaries of the store parking lot. I always thought it'd be funny to hack into the system and disable all the wheels on all the carts, say on a December 24th at 10 a.m. Aisles and aisles of carts everywhere with wheels that won't turn. Actually, secretly, I've always wanted to be computer savvy enough to be a hacker. I'd hack for ransom. And I'd only steal from the rich. Well, at first. It's hard to tell what I'd be like once I became wealthy and greedy. I've lived in many different places, many different abodes, but only once did I have a fireplace, a real fireplace. Loved it, but during that time, I began to look at everything wondering, will that burn? It's not a way to go through life, so I moved. When you've said all you've got to say for the day, and there's still a lot of day left, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Guess it depends on the day and what you said. I am suddenly craving a Nanaimo bar.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.